Hi friends, I'm Scott Giles, minister and hypnotist, and welcome to Power Talk, my video blog where I cover topics that interest me, focusing on how you can use the power of your mind to take control of your life. If you want to know more about my professional work or sign up for my free e-newsletter, Power Lines, check out my website, which I'll tag in the description. Well, as I thought about creating this video blog, the news about the devastation in the state of Florida by Hurricanes Helene and Milton was everywhere. Well, we here in Chicagoland have no real experience of hurricanes, but for the first 3 years of my career, I worked on the eastern tip of Long Island, and hurricanes were an issue there. People kept go bags packed with important papers and records, some basic supplies, something you could just grab and go if an evacuation order was received. And extreme weather, isn't the only issue. Long Island is basically a glorified sandbar, and there is a massive problem with erosion with every beachfront property. So people would sometimes, pay a premium to buy a home near the seashore, only to have that property get smaller and smaller every year as parts of the property are washed out to sea. I knew several people who had to keep moving their house back further on their property as the sea line came closer and closer. And I'm reminded of New Orleans, which flooded during Hurricane Katrina. Is it really a great idea to build a coastal city below sea level? These are the sorts of thoughts that have been going through my mind. The issue about living with environmental uncertainty is increasingly in the news. Consider the people in Hawaii a few years ago who decided to build their homes in what the state government called a lava hazard zone. Years ago, when I was president of the Council of Professional Hypnosis Organizations, we used to have our winter meeting in Southern California. Over my term, I was in Southern California for meetings during minor earthquakes and shortly after a major one, and during a forest fire. And I ended up remarking that it was a beautiful place except for the earthquakes, forest fires, mudslides, and floods. So yeah, it was lovely when the ground wasn't hot, wet, on fire, or moving. The trouble is that it was those things with some frequency. So all of this has led me to sometimes find myself wondering, why do people live there? Why do they build a house on the seashore where erosion is going to be a constant problem? Why do they move into a city on the coast that is actually below sea level? When I hear about some predictable disaster, I ask, why are people paying a premium to live there where your property keeps getting washed away, where you have to keep moving your house, where you can be completely wiped out by a major weather event? What's wrong with Chicago? We don't have those problems here. The biggest problem property owners face around here are crooked politicians, and frankly, Long Island politicians are not that much better. Thank you, George Santos. Well, back in the 1970s, there was a commercial for chiffon margarine in which an actress played the role of Mother Nature. She tastes the margarine and mistakes it for her delicious butter. Then the narrator says, well, that's chiffon margarine, not butter. Chiffon's so delicious, it fooled even you, Mother Nature. And angry at the trickery, Mother Nature responds by uttering, "It's not nice to fool Mother Nature." followed by a peal of thunder. Well, as I look at the natural disasters like hurricanes, volcanoes, forest fires, floods, mudslides, earthquakes, I reflect that it's not nice to fail to respect Mother Nature either. And as I look at the environmental devastation from extreme weather, I sort of feel that we're failing to show that sort of respect. Now, while I do try to live my life with optimism, I'm not sanguine that we humans are going to learn the lesson that nature is trying to teach us. If we were, I suspect the rational course of action would be an orderly withdrawal from the coasts and to stop building things on wetlands that are supposed to be there to buffer storm surges, but that doesn't seem to be what's happening. Though I suspect the recent storms will push some people from Florida, mostly those who do not have the means to stay. They are having to deal with such an impact by what happened, they will probably lose their property insurance. With so many hurricanes in Florida in just a few years, the state may become uninsurable. But there is a phenomena that developers call climate gentrification. That's where low-level properties are destroyed by the weather, and developers buy them up in the aftermath and construct new buildings aimed at affluent people who have the means to withstand environmental problems. So these communities lose their lower income residences and replace them with higher income housing stock, pushing middle income people out of the area altogether. All this must work out mathematically for the developers, or they would not keep doing it. But as a person of philosophy, it seems to me that this is an enormous waste. It's a waste of money because if the government has to rescue people or help bail them out after the impact of a major storm, the cost of that is borne by all taxpayers. And there is an enormous cost in terms of energy, dashed hope, lives lost, and suffering. And part of me wants to say that's just too high a price to pay for upscale housing. In ancient Greek tragedy, there is a concept called hubris, meaning extreme pride. In classical drama, when a human being manifests hubris, the gods take note and cut him or her down to size. This was a special problem if a mortal claimed to be better than a god, and I feel like our refusal to take Mother Nature seriously is a kind of hubris. In the 1970s, a chemist named James Lovelock wrote a book called The Gaia Hypothesis. He called it a new look at life on Earth. His proposal was that the Earth itself is alive, sort of has a planetary consciousness at some level. It is a great living system, and it's self-regulating. And if one part of that system, say the human community, throws the planetary balance out of whack, well, the system adjusts and culls back those who are causing the problem. If we keep ignoring Mother Nature, there is a chance that the human community as a whole will pay the price. That's sometimes called the Medea hypothesis, that the planet can get into a negative feedback loop that results in a species extinction event, as has happened a number of times in the history of our world. Now, none of this is fun to think about, but as I looked at the pictures of the aftermath of 2 hurricanes, those are the thoughts that come to my mind. But I am an optimistic person. Human beings evolved in equatorial and tropical climates. But as a species, we got through the Ice Age, developing the technologies of clothing and the use of fire. Humans are amazingly adaptable, and we do find ways to cope. I wish we would learn our environmental lesson faster, but I do believe that we will ultimately learn and we will figure out how to cope with our changing world. And I hope you believe that too. Hey, thank you for your time and attention today. I'll be back next week with another talk on a different subject. I'd like to invite you to join me. It helps me a lot if you tell others about my videos, so please like, share, and subscribe. And hit that notification bell, that helps me too. If you're wondering if I can be of help to you, feel free to reach out through my website for a free, no-obligation screening call, and we'll talk about it. Have a great week.